Hey guys, Chris here, and today I would like to explore something that I believe every man deals with, struggles with, and honestly, it shows up in different ways. It can look like overthinking, it can look like control, it can look like procrastination or playing it safe, and it has many familiar faces. But what we're talking about today is fear. And this could be fear of not having enough money. This could be fear of losing a job. This could be fear of our health and perhaps obtaining some sort of disease or sickness. It could be fear of failure. It could be fear of fill in the blank. It could be fear of fear itself. And this is really interesting because I was talking with some guys the other day, and that's actually kind of how we named it. Is sometimes it's just fear of fear itself, just thinking about what could go wrong in life. And it has a way of feeding itself. It makes us freeze up. It can shrink our world down to feeling like we have very limited options. And one of the things I want to point out is we're not in this alone. We really do have somebody that is fighting alongside us. And depending on wherever you're at spiritually, whether you believe in a God or not, it is really interesting in Scripture. There's a whole people group, the Israelites, and there's a whole section in Scripture that is asking them, don't you remember? Don't you remember whenever I delivered you from Egypt? Don't you remember when you were thirsty and I provided water from the rock? Don't you remember whenever you were hungry and I provided manna from heaven? Don't you remember whenever you were lost and I provided a way through the pillar of cloud by day and pillar of fire by night? Don't you remember? And whether you believe in that story or not, I would encourage you to reflect on your own life and ask yourself the question, don't you remember when you were scared, when you were afraid, when you were living in fear and fill in the blank happened? Don't you remember when you were so worried about losing that job and you never did? Don't you remember whenever you had that sickness and you thought it was a really big deal and then you overcame it? Don't you remember whenever you were living in fear about your marriage and that it might not work out, and it did? Don't you remember? It's not all doom and gloom. It's not like the sky is always falling, although it can feel that way many times. I think more often than not, sometimes we focus more on the things that are going wrong in life and the things that are unsettled and the things that could go wrong, rather than things that do go right and things that are bringing us joy and the things that are honestly just such a gift to us in life. And it brings a lot of stress if you live in fear. Who wants to live in fear all the time? I don't. Yet I have found much of my life I do fear. And fear holds us back. Fear holds us back from making some really pivotal decisions in life. Things that can really be life-changing for us. Some of us will never start a business because we're afraid that it won't work out. We live in fear. Some of us will never start that health journey because we feel like we've fallen too far in our health and it's too late. And we live in fear that it just won't work out the way we want it to. Some of us will never approach that person about that thing that we want to talk with them about because we're afraid. We live in fear that they're going to say no, or we're going to be shut out. Some of us don't bring up that one particular topic with our wife because we live in fear of how she might react. And that could be anything. It could be about perhaps moving somewhere, perhaps an addiction that we're struggling with, perhaps the way we don't like it, the way she does X, Y, Z. We live in fear. So what would happen if we didn't live in fear? What happened if we trusted that maybe things do work out. Maybe things could work out. Maybe there is more than just one way that this, whatever this is, ends. And it doesn't have to be bad. I've spent a lot of time in fear over the past couple of years. My dad was diagnosed with cancer. My best friend was diagnosed with cancer. I had a business that I pseudo had to shut down. I had tens of thousands of dollars in back taxes due to poor CPA management and planning. I lived in fear. And I gotta tell you, waking up every day was not very fun. Thinking about all the different scenarios, what ifs. I really, it had ownership of my life. When actually there are also some really good things going on in my life. And so I would encourage you, instead of just living in fear, start remembering. Remember all the things that you have been through. Remember all the great things you have experienced, all the things that you lived in fear about, that actually turned out for better, not for worse. And I would end with saying this. I would really encourage you to think of it this way. Fear, when we're faced with fear, it doesn't mean that you have to not be afraid. We can still do courageous things even when we're afraid. Living in fear is letting fear own you. But we can still be faced with things that we're afraid of and yet boldly step out. And so I'd like for you to kind of change the narrative perhaps and consider this. A year from now, what would it look like for you to say, man, I'm so glad that I fill in the blank, whatever it is that you're living in fear around. I'm so glad that I started the business. I'm so glad that I made the phone call. I'm so glad that I asked for forgiveness. I'm so glad that I invested in my marriage. I'm so glad that I stopped spending so much time at work and spent more time home with the kids. I am so glad that I took the trip. Take out all of the things that hold you back from making these decisions and look forward to what it would look like if you took a step of faith and boldness and courage and the things that you've been afraid of. So with that, just know that the Braveheart community is here to see these things through with you. If you are living in fear around a certain topic in your life and you want to unpack that, connect with some of the guys here in the comments, some of us Braveheart leaders. Check out our website, thebraveheartmen.com. We do have intensives that we do every year where we spend a handful of days together unpacking the things that hold us back and discussing the things that move us and propel us forward. You are uniquely wired to overcome these fears, and we're here to champion that alongside you. So with that, happy Monday, guys. Hope you have a good one.